Brian Wilson is joining us now for our weekly conversation. Brian, how are you this morning?
Doing very well, Dan. Good morning, Harry Dan.
Yeah, okay, moving right along. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Well, because it was low-hanging fruit.
Really moving right along. Hey, let's talk about the tunnel. Now, Elon Musk, the boring tunnel and all of that kind of stuff, there are people that are not convinced that this is a good idea for Nashville. They're saying that it's not going to bring jobs. It's going to be bringing in a bunch of out-of-towners and so forth. And by the way, these are people that listen to this show. So there's some conservatives that feel like, this is not something that's going to be helpful for Nashville or the state of Tennessee. What say you?
Well, I generally like the idea of companies, doing projects like this that don't have a burden on the taxpayer, that they find a way to make a profit out of it, and I'm all in favor of that. On an intellectual side, I think this would be great. A tunnel, man, it'll take people off of the interstate in a very congested area. It will be great. It'll be cutting edge and all of that. And I love the fact that they've been talking to them about that. Is the city on board or is it not on board? Because I get the impression they're not on board, but then it looks pretty stupid for them to say, I'm against something that won't cost the taxpayers a penny, but will really bring a lot of benefit to the city. So I think they're trying to weigh how they handle that. One way or the other, the only concern I have is from what I have always heard about the geology of this area. And that is, they're going to be tunneling through a lot of rock. Because think about it. That drive, all you see is granite and rock on the way out to the airport. So I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't know how they're going to do that. But, I do find it an interesting project, and I'm not against it at all.
So a couple of things. I think the Democrats and how they're trying to handle this, I think they are handling it incredibly immaturely.
Right.
I think that they're not really thinking intellectually. They are more emotional, and they don't like the fact that Elon Musk is involved. So that's number one.
Because Elon's name is associated with it, they have heartburn. But the bottom line is, he is offering to bring something to this area that has real benefit, and it doesn't cost the taxpayers a penny. I generally don't have a problem with those kind of public government relationships. I think they can be very good for a community.
Yeah, and the other thing about the rock, so from what they say, it is actually easier to drill or bore through like limestone instead of sand and dirt, because the limestone gives you a natural support as opposed to dirt, which of course
you don't
sand,
have to reinforce. Yeah, so
that's
maybe
right.
It works to them, but you still got to go through rock. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure
2 years,
the
Brian.
engineers at Boring Company have figured it out.
They're going to say it's going to be here 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
You think it'll be 2 years?
Yeah, well, that's what they say, 2026.
Yep.
Maybe part of it will be ready. That's moving really quickly. And apparently the state has worked out something, or is working out something, to give him a footprint in downtown Nashville in a parking lot that the state owns. So they can do this without the city, here. Yeah. But I think if it were to be built and it were to be as successful as everybody says it can be, then I think that stuff will fade in memory going down the line. And I just think it's not a bad idea. And I think it really does bring a great benefit. I mean, if you've ever been on that section of road on a regular basis, you know that getting any of that traffic off that's going to the airport would be a huge help.
All right, let's talk about Epstein real quick. Brian Wilson is joining us. I want to play some audio for you, Brian. This is some audio of President Trump. This was from yesterday. People, maybe I'm just having a slow morning, but I don't really see the outrage here. But this is President Trump, and he's talking about how Jeffrey Epstein, the highlight or the clip they're playing is that Donald Trump is basically saying that Jeffrey Epstein stole, and I'm putting that in quotes, stole some of the people that were working at his spa at Mar-a-Lago. Listen.
And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yep. He stole her.
There it is. There's that last comment. He stole her. And, I mean, everybody knows what Trump is saying is that, Epstein came in. He hired a bunch of young girls who were working legitimately at his spa at Mar-a-Lago, and Epstein did what he did.
Well, she was such a prominent figure in that whole scandal that I think it was surprising. It was surprising to me to hear that she was an employee of Trump at Mar-a-Lago, worked in the spa there. That was a complete shock to me, given how prominent she ultimately became in this scandal. Look, I don't know what's going on here, but I get the impression that Congress is not going to be swayed. We are going to get more information. Will we ever be satisfied that we have all the information? I really have my doubts we will, because no matter what they release now, there's always going to be a certain number of people to say, yeah, but where's the rest of it? Where's that part? Where you gave us all? Did you give it all of us? They'll always have doubts that they got it all.
Yeah.
I don't know that they will ever have a satisfactory answer to all of this, but it was surprising to find that very prominent name pop up. And he said, yeah, she worked for me, and Epstein stole her.
Were you surprised that the House Oversight Committee has decided to reject Ghislaine Maxwell's request for immunity in exchange for testimony?
Well, she's asking for a lot. I mean, it's not only just immunity. Apparently, she's asking not only for immunity, but she wants to see the questions in advance. Mm-hmm. There's a whole list of things that her lawyers have laid down that I think most people would find unacceptable in any kind of deal for her testimony. I don't think that I don't know if she'll testify or not. The other thing is, she said it can't happen at jail, that she will not do the interview in the jail setting. So I don't know what all that's about. But bottom line is, she's the one who could answer the questions. Mm-hmm. The question is she motivated to tell the truth?
Well, she's motivated to say whatever, in my opinion. She's motivated by whatever is going to get her out of prison.
That's exactly right.
So you can't really – I understand why the House Oversight Committee has done this, because if you end up, giving her immunity in exchange for her testimony, okay, well then ultimately she wants to get out of prison, and you can't let her out of prison. She was a big part of this whole thing. So, and I think that you're right.
The Trump people don't really want to talk about this a lot, but he keeps bringing it up and answering questions.
Right.
Interestingly enough, he also said that he never went to the island. But Bill Clinton did 28 times.
He did. He threw that down. He threw down Bill Clinton. He threw down the former president of Harvard. He talked about the hedge fund people. So,
Larry Summers, yes.
Yeah.
So it's 28 times is a very odd and specific number. So there must be something in the documentary record that backs that up.
Well, yeah. Obviously what Trump is trying to do is he's trying to take the heat off of him and he actually said, if you remember, he said, I'll give you a list. Now, he hasn't come up with a list, but I think that is what Donald Trump is trying to do. I think the reason he keeps talking about it is because the media is asking him about it.
True.
All right, so is there going to be some kind of a Fed decision today on rates or not? What do you think, Brian?
Well, I think the decision is that there will be no decision. But it is interesting to note that I think that the economy is in a good place where we could see interest rates come down a point at least. But it's Jerome Powell has the final say in the sway within the Fed. Although, for the first time, they say, in some 30 years, there are going to be two Fed governors who disagree with Jerome Powell about that. And that hasn't happened, I think, since 2011, some It's like 30 years ago is when it happened. Or I guess it'd be 2000. Anyways, well, 30 years ago, one way or the other. Trying to do math in my head early in the morning is not my strong suit. But one way or the other, I don't think we're going to see them come down. This is going to enrage Trump. I think he's right. Interest rates should come down at this point. But Jerome Powell is just, apparently, not inclined to do it. And I'm a little baffled as to why.
So do you think that Powell, they're not raising rates? Do you think it is political, and should Donald Trump fire Jerome Powell?
Well, he's apparently made the decision not to do so. Is what he's said. No, I'm not going to fire him. He'll be out soon enough. No, I don't think he'll get fired, but I do think this is going to be a bone of contention, and I do think it is political. I do believe it's political because these interest rates should come down. With the other things that Trump has done to stabilize the economy, it would just be that fuel. It'd be like rocket fuel, like they say. I think it would really cause the economy to just explode and take off, even bigger than it is with all of these trade deals, which are turning out to be rather positive.
All right, Brian, real quick, you got a couple of more things I want to hit.
Okay.
The earthquake in Russia. Yeah. 8.8 on the old Richter scale there. And, of course, there's a lot of worries about tsunamis. It doesn't look like, so far, and all these alerts are being downgraded now, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any major tsunamis on the West Coast.
No, and there's where I got that 2011 number. The last time we had an earthquake that was this strong was 2011. And according to them, they're saying this is the sixth strongest. It materialized, but just not in a dangerous way. I've been told that if you're at sea, out in the ocean, and the tsunami wave comes through in the deep ocean, that you would hardly notice a ripple. But that as it gets closer and closer and closer to land, that's when the wave starts to build. But it moves, almost at supersonic speed, how fast these things move.
Yeah,
it's a fascinating phenomenon. But yeah, you don't get an earthquake at 8.8 every day of the year. It's a really rare thing, and this one was extremely strong.
DEI still a problem at the University of Tennessee. I think DEI is still a problem in college campuses across America. And basically what they're doing and what the University of Tennessee is accused of doing is basically renaming their DEI into something else.
Oh, we don't have any DEI here. We have something else, and it's a whole different, acronym that they come up with. But it's the same thing. And apparently they're building what are being called all-vol bathrooms.
So there is a number of different stories out there. I'm going to sort of bunch them all together here because I think this is really important. When you work in America, you are running the risk these days, of course, and everyone knows this, of being replaced by AI. But now there's something else that is going on. And by the way, this has been going on for a long time. A concerted effort to replace American workers with foreign workers, especially our new American grads. Now, there is this program in our government, and by the way, if you've got a son or a daughter that is graduating college right now, you really do need to know this, especially, by the way, if they took some STEM studies, because those are the folks that are most at risk. There is this program, believe it or not, it is in our government, and it's called OPT, Optional Practical Training, and it is devastating the workforce. So they call it student training. And what it does is it allows foreign students to come to America to go to school. And then while they're here, they can get some practical training. But then these foreign students end up undercutting and replacing American workers for cheap labor. And it is infuriating. This was something that J.D. Vance was talking about the other day, actually.
Now there is a displacement that I worry about, and I was frankly not even aware this was an issue until a couple of weeks ago, and I'm trying to dig into it a little bit, which is where, on the one hand, you see some Silicon Valley technology firms, especially the big firms, say that they are desperate for workers, that they can't find for workers, that they have to use overseas visa programs to find workers, and yet at the same time, the college-educated employment rate for STEM graduates in this country seems to be declining.
Right. I mean, they say that this is rampant, especially in the tech industry, and the entire tech industry is basically firing or not hiring American workers. That's you, that's your spouse, that's your kids, that's your mom and dad, including, by the way, recent college graduates. And they're hiring these foreign workers through various programs that essentially they're allowing all of this, whether it is the OPT program or the H-1B visa program.
You see some big tech companies where they'll lay off 9,000 workers and then they'll apply for a bunch of overseas visas. And I sort of wonder, that doesn't totally make sense to me.
The math doesn't.
That displacement and that math worries me a bit. And what the president has said, he said very clearly, we want the very best and the brightest to make America their home. We want them to build great companies and so forth. But I don't want companies to fire 9,000 American workers and then to go and say, we can't find workers here in America. That's a bullshit story.
Yeah, that is a BS story. So bottom line is, if you've got a son or a daughter graduating college right now, if you are getting ready to graduate college, you're battling automation, you're battling artificial intelligence that is gobbling up a ton of jobs. And now y'all got to contend with this battle against American companies firing a bunch of American workers and not replacing American workers, replacing actually American workers with foreigners through the H-1B program or the OPT program. And our government is just allowing this to happen. This is what is angering so many people. And this OPT program really is like a training ground for replacing American workers, and this is rampant. This is rampant in the technology industry. And I want you to think about this. Over the past, I don't know, Joan, would you say it's been the past 20 years or so, there has been this hardcore focus on trying to get specifically girls into STEM programs?
Yes. 20 years? I don't know if it's been that long.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And so science, technology, engineering, math, STEM, right? So we've sort of directed all of these young girls and young adults now to go into the STEM programs, and the government was part of that program of trying to steer kids towards those STEM majors. And now it's our own government that is allowing those STEM people here in America to be replaced by foreign workers. I agree with J.D. Vance. This is BS. And so all of a sudden, you've got a company like Microsoft who they fired 9,000 workers, and then they apply for thousands of these H-1B visas so that they can bring in foreign workers at like half the cost. And it is BS. And you have entire industries that are going to be wiped out. And so now the question is, and it's not just Microsoft, I'll get into that in a second, but what do you do? You've got hundreds of thousands of these foreign workers that are coming in through this OPT program. They're also using H-1B visas in the process. And yeah, you are having entire industries wiped clean of American workers.
What did Microsoft say when you brought that up with Microsoft? Have you talked to them about it?
I have not. I just became aware of this a couple weeks ago. Somebody sent me an article about this, and they said, well, and it maybe was Microsoft.
It was Microsoft.
That fired, I think, 9,000 people. And then I was like, wait a second.
Record profits, record market cap.
But also saying they're desperate for workers. So I have not yet had that conversation with Microsoft. In my defense, I just found out. I will have a conversation.
I mean, you just heard JD talk about how profits are skyrocketing for some of these companies. But, I mean, you were there, friends, and I was there as well when we steered kids into the STEM majors and the STEM industries. And that same government that wanted to have that program told our kids to focus on that are now destroying those jobs by allowing these companies to hire cheap foreign labor to replace them. And by the way, if you've got a bunch of people coming in here from, I'm just going to call it India, you got a bunch of people coming in here from India and they come here, well, here's the deal. They're sending a good portion of their paycheck actually back to India. They're not spending their money here. That is a whole nother part of the conversation. And so how is it that, I got to tell you Joe Biden, it doesn't surprise me. Democrats, it doesn't surprise me at all. But you know what? Republicans got to figure this out, because we have so many people that are losing their jobs because of cheap foreign labor, automation, AI, you name it. And by the way, you also have a lot of companies sending jobs to India or China or wherever it might be. So there's all kinds of industries that are just evaporating. And for people that are like, oh, I'm just hearing about this. I've interviewed Jennifer Sheets on this, who's like an expert in workforce placement and all that. Got a weekend show here on WTN. I've interviewed her. I cannot tell you how many times about this particular situation. And the problem is it never changes. 60 Minutes did a whole piece on this a while ago.
I think for once we're going to stand up as Americans and say enough is enough. We're not going to take it anymore.
He lost his job to a foreign worker like thousands of other Americans every year, laid off because of a program that allows companies to replace employees with foreign labor. But before leaving, they often are asked to train their replacements.
I can't wrap my mind around training somebody to take my position. It's my livelihood.
Yep, it is. But that's exactly what
How am I supposed to feel?
I've heard some workers say that this is like digging your own grave. Is that what it feels like?
It feels worse than that.
Yeah. And so this guy and a lot of others, he was part of, and this is a story that goes way back, where they wouldn't be able to get their, what do you call it? When you get fired, you get
severance.
Severance. These poor people wouldn't get their severance unless they trained these people from India to do their jobs. So you can get a month's severance as long as you train the dude to do your job. There's IBM fired like 12,000 workers, and they filed for thousands of these H-1B visas. It really is horrible. And so I'm hoping that J.D. Vance will do something. This should be a conversation that we have, because I'm calling out the Republicans and the Democrats. Everybody. If you're a politician, you've got to figure this out. There's one guy who I suspect is going to be running for the presidency in a couple of years, and he's got something to say about this. I'd be willing to bet, hit me up on the Super Text line, if you are one of these parents, or maybe you, that went into the STEM technology field, and all of these jobs are now gone. I saw a story the other day, real quick, and then I'll play this audio. I saw a story the other day. I forget where it was. Do you know how old the average first-time homeowner, the average age of the first-time homeowner is these days? You know, Sam? Do you know? Joan, do you know what the age of the first-time homeowner is here in America?
The average age?
The average age of the first-time homeowner.
Has got to be near 30.
Sam?
I'd say 35.
38.
Wow.
It used to be in your early 20s. How old were you when you bought your first home, Joan? I was 24 or 5.
I had to be closer to 30. Yeah.
Yeah. Sam, I don't know if you're a homeowner. You're a young'un.
Yeah.
Okay.
27.
27. All right. Average age these days, 38 years old. This is the kind of crap, in addition to, the high interest rates and Joe Biden's inflation for 4 years. There's a lot into it. I'm not saying it is just because the government is allowing all of these people to come in from other countries to replace American workers. But it's a big part of it. And one guy that's pissed off about this is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
But is that good policy for us as a country to have Americans put out of work and then to bring in H-1B visa? And then they do chain migration from the H-1B. So the H-1B is bringing in other folks. And it's almost like indentured servitude, because you can't leave the company And so these companies love it because they save a lot of money off of it, but that's not putting the American people first. And so there's a whole host of, I think, really important issues. And the way I view it is we're a country with borders and sovereignty. And if you don't have that, then you don't ultimately have a country. We, the American people, decide who comes and who doesn't. And you can do that however you want.
Yep. So, I mean, ultimately, I hope that somewhere in Washington, D.C., somewhere, maybe it's going to be J.D. Vance, maybe it's going to be Ron DeSantis, but there is a lot, I'm sure, that can be done. I see money. Are you doing thematical bumps now, Sam, if I can remember your name? Are you doing thematical theme bumps now? Is that what you're going to do?
Sometimes, it just feels like if it calls for it, I see a banger in the folder list, and I'll slide it in.
Okay, very good. That's how I got my start.
Oh, yeah.
With the mighty Dr. Laura Schlesinger. One of my big jobs. You remember this, Joan? One of my big jobs when I was engineering and orchestrating music for Dr. Laura, she'd take these calls, and somebody would be like, I don't know, cheating on their wife or something, so I'd play Your Cheating Heart as a bump coming back. Yeah, that was me, long time ago.
Nice.
Had a lot more hair and a lot less weight. Hey, Joan.
Yeah.
I'm being called...
You are fake news.
I'm being called fake news.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you do now, Dan?
Well, 7576 says, as an employer, Dan is ill-informed.
Well, then.
Or...
You are fake news.
Fake news. Here's what he says. Now, you tell me if this sounds reasonable.
Okay.
As an employer, Dan is ill-informed. When we try to have an American young person with a college degree, they want 6 figures, key to the executive suite, and have 0 experience coming in. Entitled, spoiled, and more than willing to call a lawyer to make sure they can hurt you for not complying. Hiring a foreign person that is already educated, most want the opportunity to work, is a better route for the company in most cases. In fact, he says a vast majority of workers in India have master's degrees, well-educated, and apparently experience as well. They just don't have opportunities.
Well, then India can create opportunities for them in India.
So if you're an employer, but I guess here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Should I take calls on this?
Oh, I think that would be a great idea.
You want to take calls on this?
I would like that a lot.
All right, so take the phones off hold, Sam.
After news? After news, right?
No, because I want to take calls right
now.
No, not right now, but
okay.
They're going to call during the news, hopefully. And by the way, it's not going to be...
You are fake news.
It's not going to be fake news. Joan's going to be real news.
That's right.
But here's what I want to know. Because look, 7576, I just spent, 20 minutes or whatever it was in defense of American employees and American college graduates. And 7576 says, you got it wrong. The college graduates of today, they are coming in entitled and spoiled, and they will absolutely call a lawyer so that they can sue you if you're not complying with whatever you're not complying with. All right, so there are laws, but whatever. But I kind of understand what 7576 is saying about some college graduates. And so here's my question. The phone lines are going to be open. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. What has been your experience? If you are somebody who hires and you hire these kinds of people, what has been your experience hiring American college graduates or Americans generally speaking versus hiring people from, India, which, Joan, India seems to be the biggest, the biggest country that we hire from with tech, as you know. So I want to know.